accomplices for the last 2 months. There was high drama. He was arrested in the early hours of this morning. He was produced in court, which has now remanded him to 10 days custody. But the critical question, and this needs to be asked, despite the nation's gaze on Sandeshkhali and the entire national media's attention on Shahjahan Sheik, why did it have to take just a day before Prime Minister Modi goes to Bengal for the Bengal police to arrest this man? And now that he's under arrest, the question is, does the BJP's campaign against the Trinamool Congress continue? Will the dharna that we have seen over the last 2 days continue? And most importantly, will Sandeshkhali become an election-defining event, much like Shingur and Nandigram became more than 10 years ago? But first, the story of how the Don of Sandeshkhali was finally arrested after a nationwide gaze on him for the better part of almost 2 months now.
তার থেকে সম্পূর্ণ খুশি হতে পারছি না। মাছ লুট করা, যখন যেটা মন করছে তখন সেটাই করছে।
Because there are two types of parties. One type of political party does talk, talk, talk. But the Trinamool Congress does walk the talk.
उसको 5-star फैसिलिटी जेल में मिलेगा, मोबाइल फोन यूज करेगा, जेल के अंदर से एरिया कंट्रोल करेगा।
कि ये टीएमसी की सौजन्य से 55 दिन उसको नहीं पकड़ा गया।
All right, so it's taken almost 2 months to bring to book just arresting this man, Shahjahan Sheik. So let's take you through the storm of charges over the arrest of Shahjahan Sheik, which has been flying back and forth between the TMC and the BJP. The TMC's charge is that their hands are tied because of a stay from the Calcutta High Court over the ED assault case. Now, the BJP's counter to that is that there is no stay on the cases of murder, molestation, or land grab. These are very serious, very grave accusations against Shahjahan Sheik and his accomplices. The BJP is also citing the Calcutta High Court, which said there are as many as 43 cases against Shahjahan Sheik over the last 4 years. So why is the Bengal police not acting against him? The TMC's charge is that we have shown Raj Dharma by arresting somebody who is one of our own. The BJP's counter, he was arrested in North 24 Parganas after 55 days on the run. The TMC is also saying that the BJP's inaction against absconders like Nirav Modi, Mehul Choksi, Vijay Mallya, etc. Whereas the BJP's counter is that an arrest is an eyewash and that Shahjahan ultimately is being protected by the TMC. TMC has countered that by saying we've taken action when the ED itself could not. Remember, the ED team had gone there and they were beaten up. This was in the first week of January. The BJP's counter to that is that the ED probe is led by IRS officers. They are not police officers. They could not be expected to conduct the arrest on their own. Also, the BJP is saying no operation from the state police so far in the ration scam probe, of which, of course, this gentleman is one of the accused. But the bigger and larger question is this: will Sandeshkhali turn out to be what Shingur and Nandigram was for the left front government, a bit of an undoings of sorts, if you will? Can the BJP do the same thing with Sandeshkhali that Mamata Banerjee did with the left front through Shingur and Nandigram more than 10 years ago? Let me go across to our guest. Ajay Alok is national spokesperson of the BJP. Riju Datta is spokesperson of the TMC. Dr. Miran Chandabarkar is a former IPS officer. Saira Shah Halim is activist and author. Riju Datta, let me ask you, there is a lot of anger in Sandeshkhali. And of course, the national media's focus has been on this story for the last 3 to 4 weeks or so. Why has it taken 55 days to arrest this man, Shahjahan Sheik? And even if you look at the pictures of his arrest today, it seems like he is in familiar territory. It seems like he's the boss. The police are no one to give him any instructions. He is telling the police yes or no and what you can and cannot do.
Zaka, I have got the utmost respect for you. You're one of the senior most journalists in this country. I hope you know this. There's a saying, all well that ends well. And the bottom line is BJP, from their central leadership to their state leadership, they've lost the plot. Because what will Vishwaguru say tomorrow? See, the bottom line and the brass tacks are these, that there are serious allegations against Sheikh Shahjahan and his aides in Sandeshkhali, of multiple complaints of land grab, multiple complaints of robbing people of 100 days work, multiple complaints of physical assault, and 2 specific complaints of sexual abuse. But what did Mamata Banerjee and the Chief Minister did? What did she do? She has brought all the accused to book. Shahjahan is arrested 50 days, 55 days, 30 days. He is arrested and he is suspended from the party for 6 days. Now, 6 years, sorry, 6 years. My question here is this. We have done a Raj Dharam. Does the Vishwaguru or the Pradhan Mantri Modi have the audacity or have the capacity or have the guts to do the same tomorrow in Bengal when ED and CBI charge sheet mentioned Shubhendu Adhikari will be sharing the stage with him? First, let them do the needful. As you said, there was media gaze over him for 55 days, and that is why this has happened. And now you have brought it down to body language. There was national media gaze over Brijbhushan Saran Singh for how many days, Zaka? On how many shows I have attended on Brijbhushan Singh? He is sitting in the parliament, molesting women listless. What did BJP do? Where was the nation's gaze against Himant Biswa Sarma, Narayan Rane? See, we walk the talk. We have brought the accused to the book. We have suspended from the party. If BJP and Pradhan Mantri Modi has the guts, let them do it first and then let's.
So, Dr. Ajay Alok, the point is that as Riju Datta says, whether it is Brijbhushan Sharan Singh or even economic fugitives like Mehul Choksi, Nirav Modi, etc., the BJP does nothing. The BJP just creates a lot of hullabaloo around the media. But the TMC, despite the hullabaloo in the media, finally at the end of almost 2 months, arrested this man. So tomorrow when the Prime Minister goes there, the TMC has robbed a political plank, a political point, which the PM could have made in Bengal.
See, speaking on the television is a different story and facing people is a different story altogether. Sandeshkhali is not an isolated incident. That's what we are talking about. When we talk of Bengal, we all know, Jaka, you also know, your team knows, that there are multiple Sandeshkhalis all across Bengal. And people are out in revolt against this. Because the government induced criminalization of the society. The classical example is West Bengal and the chieftain is Mamata Banerjee, none other than anyone. It took 55 days for her to arrest this man who is accused of land grabbing of more than 1,000 acres. And don't forget, these land belongs to those peasants, those farmers, those tribals who used to grow staples and have their food. Now they have to buy that food. Where will they get money from? Why this revolt? Try and analyze things. Why this revolt? Because when you have problem in your food, when you have problem in protecting your dignity, like somebody comes in your house and says, your wife is very beautiful, I'm taking away for 3 days, and you have to tolerate it. But then there is a limit to tolerance. You were mentioning Singur and Nandigram and all. Why there was a revolt? It was not Mamata Banerjee. There was a revolt among people because the tolerance level of the people has gone away. This is what happening in whole Bengal. And comparing Shahjahan Sheikh with our leaders is like, I won't say anything, it's just political bankruptcy you have. And look at the body language of the Shahjahan Sheikh. Ever he looks like he's being arrested. Ever. He's being treated so well, as if some VIP is entering something. And just doing all this polishing that we have suspended him from the party. What you were doing for the last 2 months? Or for the last 2 years? You never knew that what Shahjahan Sheikh is doing all around. Everybody knew that.
Okay.
Everybody knew that. But this is state-sponsored, nothing else. And that's what we are telling to the people. And we don't have to tell to the people. People know this. And people are coming out against it. It's an anger of the people. What we have been telling for the last 8 years that Mamata Banerjee has turned, earlier I used to say that she has turned West Bengal into mini Pakistan. Now I say she has turned into Taliban, where multiple provinces are being administered by different kind of Shahjahan Sheikh. This is the situation in West Bengal. You move around in Calcutta, the land grabbing, house grabbing is openly on spree. They will throw some pieces of flesh in your house every day and you won't have any buyer to take that. This is happening. This is the story happening. The people are revolting against it. We cannot live in this banana country like that. It will be the people's verdict and people's mandate through which Mamata Banerjee came. But she is worse than the communists, what she has done to Bengal.
That's
She's
what
actually
I
a
Okay,
worse than Bengal.
let Riju Datta respond quickly, and then Dr. Miran Chandrabhakar, and of course I also want to go close to Sarah Shah Halim. But Riju Datta, surely it shouldn't take 55 days to arrest that to a former corporator. Now, God forbid if Shahjahan Sheikh was a sitting MLA or a sitting minister, what, you would not have arrested him at all?
Partho Chatterjee was arrested, sitting minister. We thrown him out of the party. Jyotipriya Malik was arrested. We have thrown him out of the party. Sheikh Shahjahan is arrested. We have thrown him out of the party. What has BJP done? Let's not lecture them. Now, let me educate the BJP spokesperson and some information for your viewers. He was talking about land grabbing and all that. He has not done his homework. The West Bengal government, as I speak now on your debate, has returned 170 land pattas to the rightful owners of the villages. 6,000 people who claimed that they were robbed of their 100 days wages have been given back to them already. So the West Bengal government is doing this. Now,
those lands are now useless because those lands are irrigated with saline waters. Riju Datta, go and do your homework.
They will do that.
Those lands are irrigated by saline waters.
They are in a better position. There is a better position because they will do the fisheries.
They are not in a better position. They are not going to do fisheries. Multiple lands clubbed together.
The West Bengal government.
Multiple lands clubbed together. How they are going
No,
to share it?
Once again, gentlemen. Let me move away from the political spokespersons. Let me go across to Dr. Miran Chandrabhakar. The issue is, Dr. Bhawalkar, that if the police, and I for one refuse to buy the fact that had the police had information about where this man was, which they surely should have had, he would not have been out for 55 days. He's been arrested, but again, I don't want to stress too much on the body language. It doesn't seem like, the fear of arrest is running through Shahjahan Sheikh's being. It seems like, the Shahjahan Sheikh has arrested the local police there in Sandeshkhali. But please tell me why and how this man has managed to evade arrest for so long, despite so much attention on him. Could this have been without the support or the tacit understanding of local people and the local administration?
So, while we are talking of politics, shadow politics and arrest of Shahjahan, I feel a person who has 43 cases, it said that he has 43 criminal cases against him during last 4 years, and 42 of them have been charge sheeted in the court. My question to you is, does it not show the failure of district courts that 4 years, 42 charge sheets pending, and none of the cases has been either convicted or acquitted? A person who gets arrested so frequently, which I'm sure he was in these 42 charge sheeted cases, naturally he develops a kind of kavach. He's not afraid of either police or of any enforcement agencies. Point one. Point two, if you also scratch below this political controversy which we have today, the Association of for Democratic Reforms has studied and said that 40% of our parliamentarians have criminal cases against them. So, in fact, this guy should have been nubbed at the stage when he had 1 or 2 criminal cases against him. We have allowed him to flourish. And now the whole nation is agog. How he has run away, how we are not able to arrest him. My point is 42 charge sheets pending against him. Cases should have been tried. He should not have allowed to become the Don and capture the nation the way he has.
Let me ask Sarah Shah Halim, the fact that there were 40 odd cases until the other day, till just a few days ago, the TMC was taking the refrain, and they said this in court as well, that there's some kind of stay against his arrest, to which the Calcutta High Court came down heavily and said, we have not issued any kind of stay. So all the while, the sense seems to be, and this is the charge from the opposition BJP and even the CPM and Congress, is that the TMC was going out of its way to protect, quote unquote, one of its own in Shahjahan Sheikh.
Yes, absolutely. Good evening, Zaka. It is very obvious that if it takes a state government more than 55 days to nab an accused in a very serious and heinous offense, it's obviously protecting the accused. Now, let's take a rundown of what exactly transpired since the first week of January. If you look at him, he was arrested in a different case for an attack on ED officials. This happened on January 5th, right? And then the Pandora's box opened because here there were several other cases that got lodged after he got arrested on this particular case. The women there have been silent all along. The people of Sandeshkhali have been intimidated. They've been fearing Shahjahan Sheik and his associate who have been ruling the roost there, and he's been accused in various scams, whether it's land grab, whether it's sexual exploitation, and so many others. Now, because of the arrest, on the attack on ED officials, because of this case, other cases also opened up. Now, this man goes into hiding, for 55 days. You mean to say the state government can go ahead and arrest an opposition MLA, opposition ex-MLA like Mr. Nirpodo Sardar, who has got nothing to do with this case, but he is the main accused in a very grisly affair. And he goes absconding for more than 55 days. And because of this hullabaloo and the massive protests that the Sandeshkhali incident has seen and witnessed, the state government was bound to nab him sooner or later.
Okay.
So I would say that the Bharatiya Janata Party is definitely communalizing this episode, which is tragic. It's about, if you look at the metaphors and the statements that they are, using, they're giving a very communal spin to this whole episode. So, I've heard BJP.
So let me ask Ajay Alok that why are you making this into a Hindu-Muslim issue? At the end of the day, the allegation is here is this bad guy who's land grabbing, his mafia is running riot there in Sandeshkhali, but you are keen on the fact that he's a Muslim and his victims are Hindu. Ajay Alok.
See, it's not a matter of a Hindu-Muslim issue. When a ruling party minister says that, this is my mini Pakistan, in the middle of the Calcutta, when a ruling party minister says this, who's making a Hindu-Muslim issue? When Chief Minister herself says that you have to tolerate Muslim, doodh dene gai wali ka laat bhi khana padta hai, then it's an issue. When the Hindu processions are being stopped, they are not allowed to take out the procession, then you have to raise your voice.
I'm sorry.
Who's giving a communal color? Who is Shahjahan Sheikh? He was a refugee from Bangladesh who came here and he started spreading his tentacles first during CPM regime and now during TMC regime. How is he able to do that? Just because of the state protection. The police are not going to act against him. 42 cases where they are charge sheeted, filed, court not taking place. What was the police doing? Why is still not he's being arrested? What took them 55 days? And now you are calling it a Hindu-Muslim issue.
But there are allegations that he has hosted a large number of illegal immigrants from Bangladesh. That is the local support he has built up there in Sandeshkhali, in North 24 Parganas. And therefore, the state government was seemingly going slow on him. You have to speak to those allegations. You have to address those allegations.
I'm answering you. It's a very logical answer. Sandeshkhali, first of all, after the new law, comes under the 50-kilometer jurisdiction of BSF. Who controls the border of this country? Border Security Force. If the immigrants are coming by boatloads from Bangladesh or other places and the BSF cannot do their job, then the incompetent Amit Shah should resign immediately. Why are you cutting that ticket of
Ajay Alok, this whole CRPF versus state police argument we've heard before as well. Sandeshkhali is an island. Seemingly security there is controlled by the central agencies, not by the state. And therefore, if you are making any allegations of Muslim appeasement, population imbalance, etc., the blame is as much on the central forces as perhaps it is on the state. Ajay Alok.
See, first of all, Indo-Bangladesh border is a very porous border and most of the part unmanned. The people entry is there, BSF is trying to control at the best, and what they are doing In the last 4 years, there has been significant reduction. But what the state government is doing, that if any immigrant is coming, they are providing him with ration card, they are providing them with Aadhaar card, they are giving them legitimacy. This is the problem. This is what you call Muslim appeasement. They are trying to increase the vote. The demographic content of the Bengal has changed in the last 10 years. Please take out the Election Commission report. It's for everyone to see. It's not for me to see. The similar thing was happening in Bihar, in the Simanchal states. It's happening everywhere in India. We cannot be blind when we have something open book in front of us. He was talking about that we did this, we did that. Bhaiya, there is something called CCA in every state, Crime Control Act. If you know is a person is a habitual offender and because of legal pendency he's being out, the state can impose CCA. Then he won't get the bail. Why didn't they do it if they are so particular about law and order? Law and order is only for the other citizens, not for the Muslims. And not for the Muslim criminals especially.
No, once again, I don't want to communalize this because I don't think this is a communal issue, but speak to the argument that's being made by the BJP that had Suleiman Sheik been from a different community, then perhaps the state administration and the chief minister would have acted differently. Is there any merit in that argument?
No, I don't see it as a communal episode incident at all, but it is definitely political. I feel that in each and every state, politicians are dominating and trying to control police. Therefore, this man who has 42 charge sheets should have been basically curtailed and controlled after first or two cases. And probably National Security Act should have been applied if he is so serious a criminal, which was not done because he had sought political patronage. And it is not in Bengal alone. Wherever criminals feel unsafe because of police action, they take help of some political party or join a political party. My point is, give us freedom as law enforcers, and as Supreme Court has said, let us be autonomous. If you have autonomous police, a criminal with 42 cases would not be going scot-free.
Okay, so Saira Shah Halim, I go back to what the Calcutta High Court said. If there are restrictions or some kind of hindrance in taking action against him in one case or two cases, he's got 40 plus cases against him, all of the charge sheet state. Surely the prosecution, the investigating authorities need to be more proactive in arresting Shahjahan Sheik. The BJP's contention is the TMC-led government is not doing this simply because Shahjahan Sheik is a powerful local satrap and he also happens to be from the Muslim community, and therefore 2 months before a Lok Sabha election, TMC does not want to upset a core vote bank of theirs, which is the minority population.
See, Zaka, we need to keep it in mind that Bashir Hart, his constituency, has a large part of minority population, right? And here again, like I said, the BJP spokesperson previously tried to communalize this episode, which is quite intrinsic to the way BJP does politics. However, I don't want to communalize this incident because here, Shahjahan Sheik needs to be treated like a criminal. The man was on the run. If he was that innocent, he wouldn't be absconding. The fact is, the man was on the run for 55 days. Now he is a TMC strongman in that area, in Sandeshkhali, in Bashir Hart. Now, if he goes in hiding, he's living in various people's houses and then he's arrested from someone's residence, I think it is evident that it was in the know of the powers to be. Now, here he's been arrested after the can of worms opened up. He's been implicated in numerous incidents, and I'm sure the TMC spokesperson here, Riju Datta, would agree that if you are fighting for equity and justice, even if he's a TMC member, even if he's a party leader of that particular area, please see that justice is not denied to scores of women that he has allegedly abused, and all his people.
Riju Datta, this is the moot point that the allegations that have been made by these women are absolutely grave. Sexual assault over a number of years, grave crimes against women over a number of years, and that too to score a political point. That is something that the state administration has to forthwith address and deal and redress, frankly. But you have failed to do that, to even the extent that the court is pulling you up and saying, where have we said you cannot arrest him or there is a stay on his arrest?
I have, the court has specifically given an order where the hands of the West Bengal police was tied, and I have said it in multiple shows, and I am showing you point 7 and point 8 where the High Court has given this order. Anyways, that is besides the point. Now, before I answer your question, let me answer the communal right-mongers of the BJP. When Sheikh Shahjahan is arrested, yes, he is a Muslim by religion, but his aides, Uttam Sardar and Shibu Hajra, were also arrested by the West Bengal police on the orders of the Home Minister Mamata Banerjee, are not Muslims. I'm not Muslim, so don't communalize. Other than rioting, do something else. Now, coming to your point, Zaka. Hordes of women came out in the open in front of the media and alleged of lot of other things, right? Sheikh Shahjahan was not in Sandeshkhali for 55 days. There were camps by the West Bengal police where hordes of villagers came and filed complaints of land grab, this, that, whatnot. As of now, when we are speaking, there are only 2 written complaints of sexual abuse. Only
No,
two.
obviously no woman, there are 2 women on this panel, one of them is a former cop. No woman wants to come forth and register a complaint because the police are always dissuading them from registering a complaint.
I will ask you a question.
Let me ask Dr. Meeran Chanda Boarkar. No, she's been a former police officer for the last 30-40 years. Ma'am, please answer Riju Datta. He says there are only 2 complaints. The media is going overboard with all these allegations of sexual assault and rape and so on. Why are there only 2 complaints officially registered by the survivors there in Sandeshkhali?
Oh, that's a known fact that more in rural area than in urban area, women don't come forward. And the kind of news which we are getting, the criminals and their, I think of Shahjahan only as a gangster, bhai, a criminal. Women are definitely very scared, and the atmosphere there seems to be most likely asking the women to be quiet and to suffer in silence. So that point I feel is not worth a debate at all, that women may have suffered in silence.
No, I totally agree with her. I think in India, particularly where there is heated contention between political forces, women are very, very reluctant to come forth and register an official complaint. And even if they do, Riju Datta, just 10 seconds, even if they do, the police dissuade them from registering a formal complaint. But 10 seconds after that, I have to give the final word to Ajay Alok.
Thank you. Today, when BJP has lost the plot after Sheikh Shahjahan's arrest, if you show visuals of Sandeshkhali now, women are distributing sweets, they are playing with gulal, they are happy. Even now, when Shahjahan is arrested, there are complaints today filed for land grab and others. I am not saying, I am not disregarding or disrespecting any woman. But again, I am saying, what will the Bengal police do when cases are not registered?
No, but all the more reason if women there are feeling a sense of elation that this man, if this man has been arrested and women there are elated about it, that's all the more reason why it should not have taken you 55 days to do this. But anyway, I'll give Ajay Alok the final word. Whether it's taken 50 days or 2 weeks or whatever it is, fact is, political point scoring on the Sandeshkhali episode and on this man Shahjahan Sheik will have to stop now. So how will you attack the Mamata government? The Prime Minister is there tomorrow, he's again there next week. There's nothing to say. Shahjahan is under arrest now.
See, we don't score political points on human tragedy or human loss or human sufferings. This is not our character. This is not inbuilt in our DNA. No. How shamelessly TMC spokesperson is saying all these women are elated, they are sharing sindoor and they are distributing sweets. How can you shrug off yourself from Shahjahan Sheik? He was your part. He was your part and parcel.
What nonsense?
He was inbuilt in TMC. He made properties worth more than 1,000 crores in TMC. And he was just shrugging off. If you are responsible for it, have shame. Don't act like your shameless chief minister does.
We have arrested. All the chores are in your party.
Gentlemen, please. One at a time, please. I've given Ajay Alok the final word. Please wrap up in 30 seconds. Ajay Alok, only one on screen, please. Thank you.
I just simply have to say, we have a most insensitive chief minister who doesn't think about women being a woman herself. The people of Bengal are fed up and they are out and up and against revolt. And this revolt is going to cost. And it's not a matter of scoring political point. We are for every citizen, we are with every citizen of Bengal and we will fight for them.
All right. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much to all our guests. We'll see how the story plays out. Like I said, the arrest has happened, but it doesn't seem like, at least from what evidence we've seen of the pictures, that Shahjahan Sheik will be brought to book and that he will actually face justice for the wrongs that he's alleged to have done, him and his accomplices. But joining us now is somebody who's also been keeping up the pressure in a way on not just the state government and the law enforcement agencies, but also, I guess, in some ways, putting pressure on the judiciary and other mechanisms to finally get justice for the women of Sandeshkhali, is the governor of the state, Mr. C.V. Anand Bose. He's now joining us. Thank you very much. Shahjahan Sheik, he faces some serious charges. Many women of Sandeshkhali have spoken out against him. There is grave charges that they have leveled. He's finally been arrested after 55 days. But do you believe, Mr. Governor, that justice will finally be delivered?
As an optimist, I always feel there will be the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel. And it is also said, the darkest hour will be the one before the dawn. That is what is happening in Bengal. We have started the operation. People are getting justice. Their morale has been boosted, particularly the women folk who were subjected to harassment beyond description over a period of time. I went there personally, talked to them, understood their feelings and sentiments, and decided to stand by them solidly, firmly. Now, you see, they have discovered their own inner strength. That is why they came to defend themselves. That is the beauty of it. Arrest and all are peripheral according to me. That's very important. But the strength of the women have been aroused. Now there is no looking back. They know how to assert their rights. As governor, I will be with them. We will try together. Today, once the news about the arrest came, these sisters of mine, I call them sisters because they tried Raki around me. They called me enthusiastically from there. They wanted to come and meet me, only to express solidarity. I am with them. Law is with them. Constitution is with them. Civil society is with them. Yes, they will get justice. This is the beginning. This is also the beginning. I see before me a kind of transformation taking place in the rural areas of Bengal. This is the birth pangs of a new order and the death throes of an old one.
I do want to ask you, the defense of the TMC is that A, the hands of the law enforcement agencies were tied because they believe there was a Calcutta High Court stay on taking action against this man, this Shahjahan Sheik. But there are also several cases pending against him since 2019, many of which are stuck in the legal process. So why blame the government? That's the contention by the TMC. How do you respond to that?
Nothing can be kept under wraps for long. Truth like murder will one day be out. Truth has been out. Arrest has been made. Now, it is not up to the executive to punish the guilty. That is up to the judiciary. That will go through its processes. I am sure that the judiciary will be able to take a firm and just decision in the matter.
All right, and one final word, Governor Bose. The BJP is saying this whole thing is an eyewash. He's not in police custody, he's in five-star custody. Is there any merit to these charges, given that we've seen inaction for the better part of the last 2 months now?
In a democracy, political parties have the freedom. As a governor, I would steer clear of politics. I have no comments on the political rhetoric that is going on among the parties here.
Okay. We'll leave it at that. Governor C.V. Anand Bose, thank you very much for joining us on this special chat here on Brass Tacks. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, as the Israel-Hamas war rages, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Israeli Prime Minister, draws up plans for a post-Hamas Gaza. US President Joe Biden has made a major statement that by the end of the weekend, he's expecting a major breakthrough in talks for a ceasefire and the release of hostages, primarily a 6-week truce at the start of Ramadan in return for the release of 40 hostages. But as Israel is committed to eradicating Hamas, will it play ball when it's presented with such a deal, or will it continue with its military operations despite widespread global criticism, particularly Operation Rafah? Also a look at the shift within NATO with the addition of Sweden to this military alliance. What does that do to the European theatre of conflict between Russia and Ukraine. Both those stories coming up right on the other side of this quick break.
Against him, and in some of the cases his name was also not registered by the West Bengal police. That is another accusation that is being put forth. Now today, in the case that he has been registered, he has been arrested for attacking ED officials or being the mastermind for that attack that happened on ED officials on February 5th, when a team of enforcement directorate actually tried to reach his residence to carry out a raid or search operation, because the ED had specific information that there could be a huge stash of illegal weapons and black money that could be stocked up at his house. This was the credible information that the salutes of enforcement directorate had, and that is the reason why they decided to go ahead and carry out a raid at his residence. But the manner in which these attacks happened, the enforcement directorate went ahead and registered an FIR in this entire matter to the West Bengal police, and it is in that case today that we are seeing that Sheik custody by the West Bengal police, and a 10-day police custody has also been granted by the West Bengal courts as well. So yes, there are other cases in which Sheikh Shahjahan's name has come up, be it in the money laundering case or molestation against several women where the names have come up. We have seen over the past 50 to 55 days as to how this entire controversy was brewing continuously, where the leaders from the Bharatiya Janata Party were actually trying to reach on ground. In fact, the top officers of the West Bengal police also reached on the ground, open camps for encouraging women to actually come out and talk about their complaints. So yes, this controversy has been going on. We are expecting that some sort of action might be taken by the West Bengal police, but yes, at this point the enforcement directorate is also looking at the proceedings very, very closely.
Absolutely, we'll have to wait and watch how the law enforcement in fact proceeds as far as charges those charges against Sheikh Shahjahan with regards to molesting women is concerned. But in fact, I'm going to dive deeper with you, Anshul, as far as the PDS scam case is concerned. But at the moment, let's also listen to the political reactions that have come in before we take this conversation forward.
शेख शाहजहां की आज की अरेस्ट के बाद यह सबूत होता है कि तृणमूल कांग्रेस सरकार इनको राजधर्म पालन करना आता है। जिस तरीके से ये जीरो टॉलरेंस टू करप्शन से मुंह पे नहीं बोलता है, काम में करके भी दिखाती है। हमारा चीफ मिनिस्टर बहुत पहले कह चुकी है कि जो आम आदमी के खिलाफ कुछ करेगा उसको कोई रिहा नहीं किया जाएगा।
देखिए, भारतीय जनता पार्टी की लगातार आंदोलन की वजह से ये सरकार बाध्य हुई शेख शाहजहां को गिरफ्तार करने के लिए। पहले से तो ये सरकार डिनायल मोड में था, एक्सेप्ट ही नहीं कर रहा था कि ऐसा कुछ हुआ है। तो मैंने पहले से ही बोला था कि सरकार को बाध्य करेंगे, घुटने पे ले आएंगे कि शेख शाहजहां को गिरफ्तार करने के लिए ये बाध्य हो जाएगी।
Sheikh Shahjahan has been arrested. We welcome the steps of state police. You see, our leader Abhishek Banerjee earlier pointed out that due to some parts of order from Honorable High Court, state police has been restrained from taking any action.
इसलिए ये अरेस्ट नहीं है, ये म्यूचुअल एडजस्टमेंट है। जितना टाइम तक सेंट्रल एजेंसी इसको हिरासत में नहीं लेगा, उतना टाइम तक वहां का पीड़ित जनता को न्याय नहीं मिलेगा।
Not in this case. In this case, the complaint did not pertain to 354 at all.
Any sexual assault case against Shahjahan, sir, till now?
There have been many cases. I don't remember exact nitty-gritties of all the cases. There have been many cases after 7th, 8th or 9th February. But like I said, let me reiterate, all those cases which have been registered since 8th or 9th February, they pertain to incidents which had taken place 2 or 3 years back. And investigating them, gathering evidence, marshalling evidence takes time, takes a reasonable amount of time, particularly in terms of cases which had happened 2 years back. But this was a case, in the case in which he has been forwarded, it took place, as you all know, on 5th January during the course of a ED raid in Najat PS area.
The ED sources have now shared exclusive information with CNN News 18 with regards to Sheikh Shahjahan's arrest. The High Court, they are saying, had asked the West Bengal police to arrest Sheikh Shahjahan, and today he has been arrested by West Bengal police, and that it is evident that he was in touch with the police. The court had ordered a stay on Sheikh Shahjahan's arrest in one case, but there were other cases in which the Bengal police could have arrested him, but they did not. The question now that the Enforcement Directorate is posing is, why has Sheikh Shahjahan been arrested today? Why wasn't this arrest done earlier? For more details, let's quickly go across to Anshul, who's bringing us this information. Anshul, remember, the Bengal police has been very quick, and not just the Bengal police, but even TMC leaders like Abhishek Banerjee have said that there were legal ramifications to his arrest, and there were hurdles, which is why he was not being able to get arrested. But having said that, how the Bengal police always latched on to the Enforcement Directorate to sort of camouflage why Sheikh Shahjahan was not arrested so far?
Well, definitely there is a big controversy going on between the West Bengal police and the Enforcement Directorate. This morning in the press conference that was done by the West Bengal police, they had raised question that there was a stay that was granted by the court, and hence the West Bengal police could not go ahead and arrest Sheikh Shahjahan, whereas there was no stay for the Enforcement Directorate to go ahead and arrest him. Why didn't the Enforcement Directorate arrest him now? To this, what sources within the ED have told CNN News 18 at this point in time is that when they went to question Sheikh Shahjahan at his residence, they had credible information that there is a huge stash of cash and there is a huge stash of black money that could be stacked at his house, and that is the reason why Sheikh Shahjahan went ahead and attacked the ED officials. Post at the manner in which the investigations were done by the West Bengal police, that is also a very big question mark. Also, the Enforcement Directorate has said that there should be a parallel investigation that should happen, that who within the administration was actually trying to shield Sheikh Shahjahan, and in fact helped him to do away with the money and weapons that were stashed at his house as well. Now, what sources within the Enforcement Directorate are telling us that they will be keeping a very close eye on the investigation that is being carried out by the West Bengal police. Also, the manner in which the West Bengal police has gone ahead and registered several FIRs against Sheikh Shahjahan. This seems to be a tactic by the West Bengal administration to keep Sheikh Shahjahan away from the hands of central agencies like ED and CBI, because remember, once the police custody is granted for one case, there is a limit of 14 days for the accused to be granted a police custody, and until and unless that accused is sent to judicial custody, the Enforcement Directorate cannot go ahead and ask for their custody to be handed over to them. So yes, this is what the ED is suspecting at this point in time, and that is the reason why they say that they will be keeping a very close eye on this entire investigation, and they will also make sure that as soon as Sheikh Shahjahan is sent to judicial custody, they will try to take him under their custody, because they need to question him on the PDS scam, and not only on the PDS scam but also on the land grabbing accusations that the Enforcement Directorate is looking at this point in time. So yes, there are several things that the Enforcement Directorate needs to question Sheikh Shahjahan about. Now, since he has been arrested by the Bengal police, they will now keep a close eye on how the Bengal police will go ahead with this investigation, and not only with this investigation, as to how quickly can Sheikh Shahjahan be.
US President Joe Biden has said that negotiators were near an agreement that would stop Israel's military operations in Gaza. He expected this to happen within the next week. The deal will basically allow the exchange or the release of at least some of the 100+ hostages who are still held in captivity by Hamas.
Well, I hope by the beginning of the weekend. The end of the weekend. At least my national security advisor tells me that we're close. We're close. It's not done yet. And my hope is by next Monday we'll have a ceasefire.
Speaking with reporters during a pit stop in New York, Biden offered the most hopeful assessment of the talks so far. His comments suggest that the war might be close to a major turning point. I hope by the end of the weekend. That is how Biden responded when he was asked by reporters when he expected a ceasefire to begin. He went on to add that his national security advisor has been telling him that we're close. We're not done yet, but we're close. And his hope is that by Monday, there will be a ceasefire. Now, the US president delivered the comments almost spontaneously in response to reporter questions during a visit to an ice cream shop after taping a segment on Seth Meyers' late-night comedy show. Now, this comes amid active talks in the region. Israel's war cabinet has approved what is going to be the broad terms of this deal. It basically will see a 6-week halt in return for the release of about 40 hostages. An Israeli delegation is expected to meet in Doha with intermediaries from the United States, Egypt, and Qatar. An agreement for a lengthy ceasefire is timed to start with the beginning of the Muslim holy month of Ramadan, which starts early March. Israeli bombardment in Gaza, which has killed many thousands of Palestinians, has created a humanitarian crisis around the region. It could also provide an opening for a surge in humanitarian assistance which Gaza so desperately needs. There is basically no food, water, or electricity. All of it is in short supply there. The start of Ramadan, which falls around the 10th of March, is seen as an unofficial deadline for the ceasefire to kickstart. The month is a time of heightened religious observance and dawn to dusk fasting for hundreds of millions of Muslims around the world. Israeli-Palestinian tensions have flared up in the past during the holy month as well, most notably during the 1967 war when Israel pushed back major Arab powers like Egypt and Syria. A negotiated deal, if it happens, would be a dramatic and perhaps even a defining moment in this 5-month-long conflict. It could lead to the release of at least 40 of the remaining hostages who are in Hamas captivity. Remember, that attack happened on the 7th of October, in which at least 1,200 Israelis were killed. It could also eventually mean freedom for dozens of other hostages who are still in captivity. In fact, the families of many of these hostages have been waging a pressure campaign in Israel to demand the release of the hostages, even as Israel has been responding to the Hamas attacks with 5 months of intense ground and air operations. President Biden did not elaborate on the details of the ceasefire or whether or not Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of Israel has signed off on the ceasefire. While he once again backed Israel's right to defend itself, he also called himself a Zionist. But President Biden pressed his argument that Israel needs to recalibrate its approach to minimize civilian casualties. Concerns have been mounting, particularly as Israel says it's going to begin operations in the southernmost city of Rafah very soon. Netanyahu, on the other hand, has said that Israeli forces would invade Rafah regardless of any ceasefire or hostage deal. According to him, it has to be done because total victory is Israel's goal, and total victory is within Israel's reach. But he also conceded that if a ceasefire were to be agreed to before the siege of Rafah, then that would mean that the operation in Rafah has to be delayed by a few weeks. But Israeli negotiators have signaled that Israel could release a group of high-profile Palestinian prisoners who are currently serving lengthy jail terms in exchange for the freedom of some of the Israeli hostages who are still held in Gaza. The change in Israeli negotiating strategy is significant because it could help persuade Hamas to release Israeli soldiers who were captured back in October. It could also agree to a deal that would temporarily pause the fighting in the Gaza Strip. But Hamas, in its most immediate comments to speculation about this ceasefire deal in response to what President Biden has said that so far they have not been approached with any concrete offer. In fact, one of the spokespersons for Hamas has said that much of this was being done in a speculative kind of fashion simply to pressure Hamas to soften the terms of the deal. International efforts to reach a truce had been stalled over Israel's refusal to release those Palestinians who were convicted of murder or other heinous crime in order to get a permanent ceasefire. These are the two measures: the release of convicts who are convicted of heinous crimes and the path to a permanent ceasefire, these are the two measures that Hamas has been holding out for. Now Israeli negotiators have privately agreed to what is an American proposal that would see at least 5 female Israeli soldiers released for 15 Palestinians convicted of major terrorism charges. The Israeli government had previously avoided such a concession, in part because the release of Palestinians convicted of major crimes would attract significant domestic criticism. The idea is part of a wider American proposal that would allow for the release of 40 out of the roughly 100+ hostages who are still in Hamas captivity. But the ball really is in Netanyahu's court. How long can he continue to hold out in the hope of a better deal, or simply run the risk of further alienating both the Islamic world and also his biggest ally, the United States, by disregarding sentiment during the holiest Muslim month of Ramadan? Ultimately, in this balancing act will hang not just the future of Gaza, but perhaps even the political survival of Benjamin Netanyahu. Hungary's parliament voted on Monday to accept Sweden as the newest member of NATO. This seals a major shift in the balance of power between the West and Russia, all of which was set off by the war in Ukraine. The vote basically allowed Sweden, which has long been non-aligned, to clear that one final hurdle which had blocked its NATO membership. Hungary's Prime Minister Viktor Orban, whose party has a large majority in parliament, has maintained cordial relations with President Vladimir Putin of Russia despite the war in Ukraine. Orban and his government had stalled for 19 months from putting Sweden's membership to a vote in Hungary's parliament. So finally, what gave? On Crux Decode, we will examine why Hungary finally gave its assent to Sweden joining NATO. We will also analyze what this means in the context of Russia versus NATO, now that all the Baltic countries bordering Russia will be part of the transatlantic alliance. Viktor Orban's decision to finally allow a vote followed a visit by the Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson to Hungary. During the visit, it was announced that Sweden would provide Hungary with 4 Swedish-made Gripen jets. Currently, the Hungarian Air Force uses 14 Swedish-made Gripens. The manufacturer of the Gripen jets, the Swedish defense giant Saab, said that it would also open an AI research center in Hungary. Hungary's lengthy delay in accepting Sweden puzzled and even exasperated NATO members, including the United States. It raised questions about Hungary's reliability as a key member of the alliance that is committed to the principle of collective defense. Hungary became the final obstacle to Swedish entry into NATO, this after the Turkish parliament voted back in January to approve Sweden's formal entry. All other NATO members had approved Sweden's bid back in 2022, just months after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Russia's full-scale war on Ukraine 2 years ago was an enormous shock to all of Europe. Used to 30 years of post-Cold War peace, they had imagined European security would never be threatened by Russia. They were hoping that Russia would become a more democratic country, something that would mainstream itself with continental Europe. Instead, what they got was a revisionist imperial war machine which, heeding to its insecurities regarding an expanding NATO, impinged into the sovereign territory of another country. The biggest shock out of this Russia-Ukraine war was in Finland, which of course shares a 1,300-kilometer-long border with Russia. It also has a fraught history of having lost numerous wars in the past to Moscow, most notably in 1939 at the start of the Second World War. Sweden, which has always remained neutral even during the Cold War, had dismantled 90% of its army and 70% of its air force and navy after the collapse of the Soviet Union. After the decision to go to war by Russia's President Vladimir Putin, both Finland and Sweden rapidly decided to apply to join the NATO alliance. This, in their view, was the only clear guarantee of collective defense against Russia. With Finland having joined last year, the Hungarian parliament finally approved Sweden's application this week. Now Putin finds himself faced with an enlarged and perhaps even a motivated NATO. And this was one of the exact reasons why he went to war in the first place, to stop what he called the ever-expanding NATO. But his actions seem to have had the opposite effect. NATO is now spending more money on defense. It's making more tanks, artillery shells, drones, fighter jets, you name it. It's also putting more troops on Russia's borders and has approved serious military budget in terms of 50 billion plus euros into Ukraine's war effort. But critics argue that some of this could be too little, too late. And the reason for this is sheer deterrence. Some member states already fear that if Putin succeeds in Ukraine, then he will test NATO's collective will within the next 3 to 5 years. Any other country in Europe could be in his line of attack. But that's not the only reason. There's also a transatlantic reason. If Donald Trump were to be elected president later this year, that would cast serious doubts on the American commitment to come to the defense of its NATO allies. It could be the last thing that might tip the scales for Putin to test NATO's resolve. With Hungary finally voting for Sweden's accession to NATO, at last the pieces are finally falling into place for what is an enhanced NATO deterrent, both in the Baltic and in the North Sea. There will be greater protection on the front line for states like Finland, Norway, and all the other Baltic countries which border Russia, the likes of Estonia, Latvia, Lithuania. Once Hungary hands in a letter certifying its parliamentary approval to the US State Department, then Sweden will officially become the 32nd member of NATO. This is the first time that all countries surrounding the Baltic Sea will be part of NATO. It was Russia's full-scale invasion of Ukraine 2 years ago that pushed both Finland and Sweden into deciding to join NATO. Finland in particular has a long border, over 1,000 kilometers with Russia. It saw the most imminent danger from the war. The Swedes did as well, but they were also convinced, particularly on the political left in Sweden, that there was a sense of moral outrage that Russia, which is a permanent member of the UN Security Council, would seek to destroy a sovereign neighbor. With both Sweden and Finland together in NATO, it'll be much easier to bottle up Russian surface navy in the Baltic Sea. It'll also become easier to monitor the sea lanes of the High North. Russia still has up to 2/3 of its second strike nuclear weapons based in the High Sea. It is based in a place called the Kola Peninsula. So the new members, Finland, Sweden, and other Baltic countries, will help provide enhanced monitoring of what is a crucial part of Russia's military. Russia's fleet in Kaliningrad, that's on the Baltic Sea between Poland and Lithuania, is just 200 miles away. And so are its Iskander nuclear-capable missiles. NATO planners have long worried about how to support these Baltic countries if Russia were to seize the 40-mile gap called the Suwalki Gap that happens between Kaliningrad and Belarus. But now, with Sweden and Finland both in NATO, straddling both the North and the Baltic Seas would make it much easier to send in reinforcements. Russia's nuclear-armed submarines may find it more difficult to maneuver out into the open sea. With NATO membership, it will be easier now to coordinate with Finland, Denmark, and also the key islands in the Baltic Sea. After the collapse of the Soviet Union, Stockholm decided that war was a thing of the past. It removed nearly all of its forces from the Gotland. It reduced the National Army by around 90%. The Navy and the Air Force were cut down by 70%. The forces are being slowly restored. Spending on the military, which used to be close to 3% of GDP during the Cold War, came down to just 1%. It'll now, this year, go back up to 2% of GDP, which is the minimum that's been prescribed by NATO for its member states. So in every sense, Sweden has truly joined the club.
Co-presented by JK Tyre Ranger Series. Stay wild at heart. Co-powered by AU Small Finance Bank. बदलाव हमसे है.
Hello, Namaskar. This is First Post and you're watching Vantage with me, Palki Sharma. Tonight we start with the Global South. Looks like everyone wants a piece of it. These countries have emerged as a powerful political entity